I'll look right now.
All right. Okay, cool. Cool. All right. So I want to start off with some wins. Who has some big stuff? I know that I don't know if they're on the call, but I've heard of some big wins. I've kind of been paying attention to the accountability group stuff, and it's super cool. I know someone who's on the call regularly. I don't see him on here yet. He landed his biggest deal ever, which is awesome. I know Spencer was reaching out about matching and then hopefully beating his best month. Spencer, what do you got?
What's up, man? So since last call, I think I've collected somewhere a little bit over 5K. Honestly, at this point, I'm not really keeping much track. I'm just got the foot on the gas. And I reached out to Patric, told him we're going to match that 25K month last month that we did. And Patric said, why not step this up to 26? So I'm looking to close another two deals, at least one within the next 5 days. Hopefully it's a bigger one to push me to that 26K mark.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Isn't it cool when this stuff gets normalized? Like for you guys that it's not normalized yet. It's a process that it just kind of happens to us all. There's the person that I know had a big win yesterday, joining the call now. So it gets normalized and it doesn't seem like such a big deal. And like Spencer, I went through the same thing where you don't really know what your monthly revenue is anymore because it's not so important. I mean, it's important, right? But it's not like there's other things to focus on. And like when you're at 1K and you go to 2K, that's a big deal. When you're at like 20K and you go to 21K, it's a lot less. It's just like, relatively is making a lot less difference. So dude, that's super cool, man. Congrats. I know you've worked hard to get this, and you'll notice as you start to go through this, that when you get to like 30K or 40K and you look back at 25, you'll be disappointed if you were to like ever have a 25K month again. I remember when I first started playing poker for a living, I was playing for like just a couple, like it was like such low stakes looking back. And then I moved up a level and I'm like, oh, now this is like real, this is legit. And then you move up and you look back and you're like, it gets normalized. That happens in life. And some of you guys that are discouraged looking up at this, you guys have to go through your own normalization process. And part of it is like, it needs to get normalized for you guys. Some of you guys that you can work remotely and not have a job. You can make more money. You can have freedom. Like some of you guys, this is like, just seems like a fantasy, but for those of you that have stuck with it for any period of time, you know that it just becomes a reality. And this distance from normalization, a lot of it is based on your background and what's normal to you. Like if you grew up in a really wealthy family, then this isn't that big a deal. But if you grew up where you had to like count every penny, then this can be mind-blowing. If you didn't have parents or friends or whatever it is that kind of positions you and makes this stuff feel normal, then it can feel impossible to achieve. And I just want you guys to know, like Spencer was one of those people. He's one of those people where he had never even heard of somebody making this type of money during a month, right? Like it was just like, that's not real. That's like what astronauts make or doctors or something that I'm not, right? So
I'm making, Patric, I mean, put this in perspective. I'm making more in a month than my mom used to make a year.
That's crazy. Yeah. It was the same for me at some point. I was a software engineer. And when I had my first month where I made more in a month than I did in a year, I was like, this is like, I'm making more than like a neuroscientist or something. Like, I'm selling leads to a plumber and I'm getting paid more than these guys who have gone to school for like 16 years, right? And look, it's fun to talk about the money we're making, but really what this is all about is the freedom, right? I'll tell you, like my wife and I, we spent a month in Barcelona. We rented an Airbnb, probably in like the nicest part of Spain. It was a corner apartment. I would say within a few minute walk, there was like 200 restaurants and bars that we could go to because Barcelona, the streets are really close together and they're just like stacked up every little place if you're in the right areas. And And then, I didn't know it, but well, I knew my birthday was last week. I knew that, right? But my wife had planned a trip for us. So we flew down. I actually didn't even know when we went through security. She did a really good job and I liked the surprise. So we went through security and then we flew down to Sarasota and she had booked like a place at the Hyatt for us, resort. It was really nice. We did a lot of it's like 4 days in a row doing different things. Like, we did kayaking through this mangrove. It was awesome. And massage. We had dinner with some different friends. My friend Janeri and her awesome boyfriend Joe came down and surprised us. That was amazing. So being able to have these types of business are what allows us to do this. We're getting ready to jump in our RV. I'm in Ohio right now where the temperature is like 12 or something stupid. But we're getting ready to jump on RV and head down to Florida and just kind of like spend time bouncing around Florida. That's what this gives you. That's what, and not everybody had, obviously everyone's got different goals, but having the freedom to choose is what this is about. And I want you guys to be connected with these wins and not just talk about the numbers. I think that's important. We have to get our needs met and our stability and make sure we're putting food on the table. So at the beginning, it's a lot about the numbers, but how are you going to use that to make your life better? That's really where we should focus, right? Where the questions are. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see my buddy Neil while we were down there because my wife had jam-packed our schedule there, but it was awesome. It was cool. It was super cool. So let's hear some more wins. Who else has some wins?
I'll play off of that. My win plays straight off of that, Patrick. As you know, I've been on the road for a few weeks now and have a few more weeks planned. And I'm here just south of West Palm Beach and went with some friends to go skydiving this past weekend. And we got rained out. Unfortunately, I was going to post a couple things in the group about it, but I met this guy last year when I was kind of bouncing around at an event in Miami. And we connected, and he's super into skydiving. He's done about 350 jumps in the last 18 months after COVID's hit. He just kind of decided that's what he wanted to do. And so I really wanted to go skydiving with him. And so we planned this part of the trip around that experience. I still may get to go on Friday. So we'll see how that plays out. But the more that I was talking to him about it and everything, and just, hearing other people talk about it, it's really another one of those things that you kind of get past, and then all of this kind of opportunity and confidence and just opens up so many new things, and the way that you think and the way that you kind of live your life just becomes that little degree freer, if you will. And so this is, I've been traveling quite a bit since the summer and going to Nashville and meeting Patric and experiencing these masterminds and all of that, but this was the first time that I've really just kind of said, well, you know what, I'm going to be going in that direction. Let me go to Florida and have this other skydive experience, and then I need to be back in Florida a couple weeks later. I'm like, why am I going to go home? What's the point of going back to Austin where it's cold when I can just stay here in Florida and have some great experiences? So it's just the lifestyle, like Patrick was saying, and the more that I tap into it, the more possibilities open up to go and have those really unique experiences that are going to make my life better, and meet new people that are doing cool, interesting things. And it's amazing. I love this. I love this lifestyle. So keep up the good work, hang in there, and get to, create the life that you want.
Yeah. And Jeff and I are about to go, and actually Gabe's going to be joining us. Gabe's going to be flying down and joining us for an event in Florida here in a few weeks. So really excited for that. It continues, and we get to meet some more high level people. So pretty awesome. All right. Who else has some wins? Looks like Mr. Greg Adams. What's up, brother? You got a win for us?
Yes, sir. So the one I told you about a few weeks ago, I've been working on. I did the demo, I did the heat map for, and the guy said, he's going to be ready this next month. So I pushed it. I called him this week. I said, hey, we're coming on the end of the month. I said, we need to schedule a time and get this thing rolling. I said, I really want to help you grow your business. He scheduled a call. We jumped a call yesterday. He sent me the money. And so he's ready to go. So I'm super excited. He said, fortunately, he said, I'm really super busy right now. He said, and we got a lot of projects going on. I didn't want to turn that fire hose on to him, but I got a lot of things going. So he's a young guy, he's about 35. He's got a big vision to grow this company out. He's got a lot of good divisions. He's got a very good reputation. And he says, well, And I want to say something too, that, you know, he was like, Greg, I really got to make this work. And he kept emphasizing it. He said, I love what you're doing. I love the transparency. I said, I get it, because he's been burned so many times before. And so I just reassured him. I said, this is a partnership. I said, it works both ways. He said, you got a very good reputation. You do a lot of video. You do a lot of follow-up. They keep the site clean. This is a construction company. And I said, I could be the best SEO guy in the world, which I'm not, but I could be the best guy in the world. I could send you all the leads, but if you don't take care of the customer, then we don't have a business. So he really appreciated that. But yeah, I think we're really going to grow it really big. He's excited about it, and I'm just going to over deliver. And I think it's going to be a long-term deal. And again, I emphasize this, so this is not going to be a short-term unless you want it to. And I said, there's no contract here. You know, at the end, after I made him commitment for 3 months, and I said, and we'll look at the end. I said, but you know, if I'm not doing my job, then fire me. I said, I don't deserve, we don't deserve to work together. So it's not fair to you, not fair to me. So anyway, that's my win.
Nice job.
That's awesome. You're muted, Patrick.
Patrick, you muted, brother. We didn't hear anything.
I think he's
That was Secrets of the Universe right there. You guys all missed it. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I can't repeat it.
you missed it. You got to redrop.
Yeah. So my parents have this. They for whatever reason they want to maintain their
Is he
home
breaking
phone
up
system.
or am I? You guys hearing that?
So what's that?
Yeah, he's good.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. So their house phone was ringing. So I muted out. Sorry about that. But hey, I had a client like this, Greg, where they threw their last money at us. And it was out of Raleigh, this guy out of Raleigh. And he had heard good things about us. He believed in us, but it was like, it meant the world to him that like this money was used to bring back more business. When somebody trusts in you like that, man, there's like, I was like, I don't care what happens. I'm not letting this guy down. I'm just like, I'm going to die before I fail this guy. When he's taken that kind of trust and put it in me, like I took that really personally. Like, what would you have to do if you switched it and you put yourself in that guy's shoes? What does that look like for you to give your last money to some company, trusting to help you get there? Like, how does that feel right now, thinking about that? And like, now you're on the other side of it and you have the opportunity to help them. Like, I was like, there's no chance I'm not going to like crush it for this guy. And, you know, that guy called me about a year later and he's like, hey man, don't take this the wrong way. But, I really believe in you now. Like, it's like you guys have changed everything. And, you know, I was scared and, but everything's changed now. He was going to get like, his truck was getting like, his truck was about to get repossessed. He was about to move back in with his mom. You know, we charged him a startup fee and then I didn't charge him for a little while. And then the stuff started coming. Now he's got like 3 trucks. I think he bought a house. Like, it's crazy the impact that we can have on these people. And, you know, when you really connect with the story of the person and write it down, create the vision, you know, I always try to get the vision of what they want. And I put that down and that becomes like how I'm picturing them and what I'm going to do. What do I need to do to get them to their vision? Right. When you start thinking about that instead of like, hey, I'm going to like, this guy's paying this, I'm going to give him like 4 hours a week. And it's just like, that's a terrible way, in my opinion, to focus on things, focus on the impact, make a big difference in these people's business. And then like, they'll pay you top dollar for it. And, you know, they'll be able to afford it because of what you're doing for them. So super cool. Who else has got a win?
I got a small one. Back on what you're talking about with the freedom and stuff. I can really relate to it because my buddies over the weekend hit me up. They got us tickets for the US Open this June. And you know, back in the day, so I'm going to be staying up in New Hampshire in I think a cabin for the month of June up there anyways in New Hampshire, but we'll drive down for that. But at the end of the day, when I had my company, I couldn't do that. I mean, even if I left for a week, I'd be worried the whole time I was gone. I'd still be getting phone calls. It was a nightmare. You know, now I can just work from up in the mountains and, you know, it's to me, that's huge.
That's awesome, Neil. And I appreciate the invite. I'll definitely make sure my schedule is open for that.
I'll squeeze you in there.
Cool, man. Well, that's awesome to have that freedom and to be able to, like, go and do things like this. That's super cool. Mr. Graham from Australia. What's up, brother?
G'day, mate. How's it going?
It's going well. I can't do an Australian. I'm just gonna embarrass
Buddy,
myself. So
Buddy, we had a really good one the other day. We've got this site that's we just built a site. There's no GMB, but it's getting a few calls trickling in every week, and we're kind of like wondering what we're going to do with them. And this guy rings up, and well, actually, it was his wife, and he's a new migrant from Turkey, and he moved from one city into this city, and he's looking for work in his trade, and he can't get anything. No one wants to give him a go. And we said, guess what, brother? It's your lucky day. You rang the right number, man. So yeah, we just gave him a quick pitch and said, look, we'll start off on $50 a lead, and we'll get you moving and stick with it. And so now we're just going to dive in, man, and we're just going to explode this guy's life. Like, we just start setting up a few more assets and get serious with it, right? So everything's going to change for this guy. Like, we're literally, going to take this guy, we're going to mold him and turn him into a real, a bit of a business superstar, because that's what he wants. And hopefully we'll get somewhere, and this guy will be with us for many years to come, So it's just interesting. Hey, like, you get these random phone calls, and there's an opportunity on the other end. You don't even have to do anything. It just comes to you.
yeah, absolutely, man. The more times you get your name in the hat, the more often it's going to get picked, right? So, like, sometimes the stuff falls in your lap. And I mentioned this on a few calls ago, just like being a good person and like creating a good reputation and taking care of people, you get all sorts of different relationships come out of that. We've had a lot of strategic partnerships that we're working on right now that we have cooking up that I think are going to, my goal with the software LeadSnap is really to disrupt the industry. And I kind of like seeing with my crystal ball down the road, these strategic partnerships are coming because of just like having being good to people, like having a good reputation. Other people want to connect you because they like these two people, right? I think Spencer connected me to one of these people, and I can't remember who connected me to William Jones, but a lot of these partnerships just come from being good to people. And like, they say that the people that work the hardest get the luckiest, right? So like, by being out there, like, you just get more opportunities, man. So whatever you did to create that phone call, like, how do we do more of that, right? So congrats, Graham. That's awesome. Who else has a win?
Brian Jones. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Patrick.
How's that?
Brian Jones. Okay, my bad. Brian Jones, what's up, brother?
So I picked up a mortgage broker this week. It's funny,
cool.
Talk about planting seeds. I went to a networking event between Christmas and New Year's, which is probably the worst time to ever go to a networking event. And there was about 4 people there. And I'm like, this is going to be the night of hell for me, because it was just some weird people. But the guy hosting it was a mortgage broker from a national company. And he has his own GMB. And the branch GMB is terrible. There's like 4 reviews and 2.5-star rating, so he knows, they're not going to give him any help. And so he hired us after talking to corporate about what they're going to offer him for marketing. And what we were talking to him was like totally different. Like, we showed him the heat map, and we were just talking about, and this isn't even his website. He doesn't even have a website. So we're just going to brand him, but he has his own GMB. So we're going to work on that. And so it's just interesting, like, some good things happen when even when it's like a bad experience overall.
Yeah.
Everybody else was a bunch of nutcakes, and this one guy was a real business person. And
you only got to get lucky. You only got to get lucky once, right? And just putting yourself in these situations, you never know what's going to come out of it. So that's awesome, man. Congrats on that.
So they're heading to Florida tomorrow for the month, and maybe we can hook up with some people down there.
Oh yeah, what part are you gonna be in?
Fort Myers, Sarasota, mainly Fort Myers.
Oh, okay. Well, our buddy Neil is over there in Sarasota.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna be circling Florida a lot. Like, so I think we're gonna be hitting most of like the central to south. We'll be in it at some point. So we just kind of decided to get we were actually gonna leave probably tomorrow, but then my dog, he had to have an x-ray on his stomach, and I don't know how he did this, but he actually has a bottle cap, a metal bottle cap inside of his stomach. So he has to have surgery on Friday to get that thing out. We don't know how long it's been there, but it actually it's crazy. It looks just like looks like a photograph of a beer bottle cap inside of his stomach. I don't even drink beer, so I don't know where he got that, but little guy, he's dealing with it. So after we're done with that, we're grabbing the RV and we're heading south to enjoy the weather. So, all right, cool, man. Well, congrats on the mortgage broker, man. That's awesome. See where it goes. All right, Patric, do you have a win?
Yeah, well, I closed $3,500 month yesterday, and then
You want to get excited about it?
Man, I was pumped last night, and then this morning got a call, and I have this client in Milwaukee. I've been doing a free trial, and they just straight up offered $2K. They're pumped about the leads and just want to grow. So
Was that a 3,500 and a 2K?
Yeah, in the last 2 days. So
You closed $5,500 in like the last 36 hours or something?
Yeah, last 24 hours.
Last 24 hours.
Last 24
That
hours.
is killer, man. So Patric, I think you said last week you were at like 6 or 7K. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I just hit 15,000 today.
Wow.
That's
with the 5,500. So you basically just increased your monthly revenue by like 50% in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, last month I was at 6,600. So I just hit 15K. Man, I got a call on Friday too. I'm gonna close that one for over $1,000.
Yeah, awesome. That's what I'm talking about. Nice.
I mean,
nice work, man.
I'm just kind of pissed off. I got so many fucking leads just sitting out there right now. It's nice.
What's changing for you right now that you can, like, if you look back at the Patric from a few months ago and today, with the people that are maybe where you were mentally and the things you were struggling with, what has changed that has allowed you to kind of just like shoot up like this?
It's just like, I've been consistent, and then, some things haven't been working out. And then, just seeing other people land these, bigger deals. And I'm like, wait, I got way more leads than this person's, giving these clients, and they're closing, bigger deals. So seeing people, close those deals, I'm like, all right, I just gotta start pitching higher prices. Like I was okay accepting, like I accepted like $150 from this one client, which is ridiculous. And I'm not really going to take anything under, 1,000 anymore. I'm just not dealing with it.
I like it, man. It sounds like you've got a few things going on just from kind of the outside looking in. It sounds like seeing other people close bigger deals than you when you have more leads and maybe better leads has given you certainty to like, I'm just not putting up with this shit anymore. And I'm just going to I refuse to accept less than X. And I know that it's worth it. It's like a higher level of confidence is what's coming through.
Yeah. I mean,
you think that's fair?
The one client I closed for 3,500. He was spending. I just transferred it over to me. He was spending 3,500 on his website, and I look at it. His SEO guy. He doesn't even have a single backlink or anything. I mean, he's literally, the guy's just pocketing $3,500 and doing absolutely nothing. And and the client was bragging about his website. So I sat down with him for 2 hours, and we just talked, and he's got all these leads to look at that I sent him, and he closed a shit ton of business. So it's just a simple transfer over, and he's pumped.
Yeah,
we're gonna grow that too. That's gonna turn into more. So those both are gonna be bigger deals.
That's awesome, man. How are you doing with your accountability group? Are you on pace or ahead of your goals, or how's that going?
I set low goals. I said I wanted to close like an extra 10K, and I'm at 9. I think at least 8K right now, and I'll be at that 10K by Friday. So my goal is too low in that aspect. But yeah, everyone's we're all kind of focusing more on the sales aspect, right? Instead of just building like nonsense.
Right. Do you think this accountability group is contributing to like your growth here with this and kind of turning the corner?
Yeah, because we're focusing more on the sales side, and that's what I needed. I've just been in this, just keep building. you know, I'm just going to get lucky with someone's just going to want to take these. Like, that's just not how it works, you know? So I got all these assets I need to sell. And we've all kind of like shifted our goals, right?
Yeah.
Since we put them down, we're not just like sticking to those. We shifted it.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. And I would encourage you to take this into account. I think this is your second accountability group, and you've been one of the more active members in these, and kind of from the outside looking in, it seems like you've kind of had a leadership role within the accountability group. I would encourage you to take this into account when you plan your third one. Like I imagine you're going to stick around with it. When you go to your next one, set stuff that's going to be hard, that's going to be stretchy, where you're going to have to push yourself to really get there, right? You're going to achieve this early. And I would even say like, hey, why don't you, like if you get there on Friday and you've got essentially like 2 more months left in this one, then like, what can you set over the next 2 months so that it's going to be tough for you to push it and then work backwards and see how you're going to get there. And but that's awesome, man. I want you guys, like, let's show these guys some love in the chat. For these guys have been working hard to get this. Congrats, Patrick. I know that I know you've been at this for a while, and it's just like, it's hard to like when you put that in the accountability group chat the other day, like, honestly, at this point, and maybe Spencer can start to appreciate this, I get more excited for your guys' wins than I do when I like close someone in my own agency. To see you guys working hard and struggling, and I'm trying to like do whatever, like press the right button to help you get to the next level. And it seems like it's just always out of grasp. And then you like turn the corner. It's amazing, man. I just like, makes it feel like what we're doing has some real purpose. Not that we did it, but just like kind of, you know, you guys are the ones that did this, but being a part of this, you know, and tuning into these calls and talking strategy, and then see you like take off like this. It's just amazing. I love it. It's so rewarding.
You've definitely helped a lot.
Well, yeah, I'm glad, man. And I think everyone in the group and on the calls, like we all are contributing towards each other. And I think it's important, you guys, let's make sure that we're building the community that supports these people, and like ask the questions in the group, not on the call necessarily, about like what they're doing, what they've changed to get there. And I try to pull them out of it for you guys. But that's awesome, brother. Super excited for you guys. You maybe you and Spencer, we can give Spencer some competition next time we run one of our competitions there and have you guys push it. So good work. We got any other wins? Who else? We good? All right, cool.
One that was dropped in the chat, Patrick. Karen is saying that Barcelona and skydiving are on her list. I'm assuming that's some kind of a life list or something.
Bucket list, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't like to frame it as a bucket list. It sounds so morbid, but you know, she's working also on systems and organization, which is a win for her, and she appreciates us being role models in that regard. So thank you for sharing, Karen, and that's all I have for the wins, Patrick.
Awesome. All right, guys, what I got planned for you guys tonight for the lesson part of this, it looks like Greg, you got is that hand up from earlier, or is that new?
Yeah, I just want to say at one point, I'll be clear, back when what Brian was talking about, he's showing up places. I learned this lesson a long time ago when I was selling water filtration. We used to sell door to door. And so one of the first sales I ever had made, you know, I was really nervous going out there. And so when first calls, it was raining hard. Don't window shop, because it was raining hard. I'm driving way out in the country. I come up to this house, you know, the cars are on blocks. The lights look like they're out, and I could have very easily drove by. I walked in, I did my presentation. I had to like blow it like this. They had no expression on them, but I went through the demonstration. I had my enthusiasm with it. And when I sat down and asked for the order, they just gave me cash right there. So you just never know. You got to always ask for order and go through the process. Because, you know, if greenbacks were B-backs, we'd all be multimillionaires. So that's all I had to say.
I like it. Yeah, man. It's you'll definitely be surprised by a lot of people. I've learned that lesson multiple times in life. Okay, cool. So I know that we've had a lot of like new people join the group. And so what I have today is I have a lesson that it'll be useful for you no matter where you are in your game. But when you're getting started, there's some things that are important to kind of understand. So let's talk just a little bit about the business model here, because I know that we have people joining in that maybe they're not as familiar with this. I know that there's people on this call like Spencer and Patrick that are doing like, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, but there's other people getting started, and you guys were, you know, maybe not there so long ago. So, all right, guys. So obviously when we start, like just a rundown of what this business model looks like is the idea is to build a website in a area and a niche that is going to be easy to rank in. So the idea is if we can find a city and we can find a niche where the sites that are ranking are only really ranking because Google has to rank someone and not because they're doing something exceptional, and it'll be easier for us to rank. And if that's the case, then we can get to money first. We can get to money sooner, because what happens is we get discouraged when we get in there, when we try. And I think what happens to a lot of people is you choose the wrong niche, and then it takes longer, and you don't have that kind of support system. I know that's, I don't know if he's on the call right now, but my buddy Paul, who Paul is actually like a poker dealer when I played poker for a living, and we kind of formed a friendship. And, you know, Paul was driving Uber Eats when we were connected like a year or two ago. And this is a guy who didn't own a computer, barely knew how to check his email. And now he's built like 6 sites. And, you know, he's been kind of doing this part-time. He's got a lot of bills to pay because he's driving Uber Eats. He's paying for an apartment, and he's got like a son, and he's helping support, I believe, his ex-wife. So really awesome guy. He's been through a lot of tough stuff, no background in tech. So he has gotten, he built a site, and, you know, I think he had his first site published like 3 or 4 months ago. Well, he's gotten like 3 leads in the last like 24 hours. And these leads, I think, are worth probably at least $50 a lead. This is someone that's like, hey, I need like $3,000 a month to pay my bills. And now he's had essentially what I think is $150 come in while he's like driving Uber Eats to pay this. So like, this is awesome. And that goes to show that no matter where you are, what your background is, because this person is like one of like, he just didn't have a lot of tech background. You know, he grew up, he was already in the workforce when the internet came out. So like for me, I was in college really when the internet, or high school when the internet started to come out. So it was just like a really great time to like get into tech. But for those of us that, you know, maybe like 10, 20 years older, they're in the workforce, and then they don't have that commitment to learn it. And he never had the need to. So, but he's taken that and he's built multiple websites, and now he has leads coming in, and we're about to try to go through the prospecting of like landing our client. And it's just awesome. And I just want to put that out there. If you guys are considering this and you're unsure if you can do it, right? You can do it, because there's people like Paul that are going to make this happen. And it's going to, I predict it's going to completely change his life. Once he gets through, there's going to be no need for him to drive. You know, he'll be ordering Uber Eats instead of driving for him, right? So super stoked for that. But all right, so I'm going to talk about due diligence. So this is the process of trying to identify the niche we want to go into. So just high level overview is we're going to try to select a market. We're going to select a niche, and then we're going to go through and we're going to answer some questions about that to try to gauge whether we think this is a good niche to go into or not. And we're going to, after that, after we've chosen it, then we go and we build the website. We get to Google My Business. So just like, let's talk about what this is. So there are some website builders out there that are easy to use. So Weebly is a really easy one. Okay, it's like, I think $8 a month. Maybe if somebody knows, throw it in the chat. I think it's $8 a month. I don't use this, but it's an easy way to get started. Okay, I know that there is Duda out there, which is more expensive. I think it maybe has a little bit, I think it's duda.co. So this is another platform out there. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. I don't personally see like a rankings benefit to one or the other. I know another group that I was in at one point, everyone built it on this, and there was just like thousands of people in this group and people making a ton of money on this. You don't need to have something like super fancy. This is a good way. This is, I think, $8 a month or something. You can get tons of videos on YouTube on how to build this, right? So free YouTube videos that teach you how to build websites on Weebly. You don't have to pay until you actually publish, I think. And I think maybe there's a free version that can have their branding on it. Long term, I would say get the branding off of there and pay the $8 a month or whatever. I think this one is like $10 or $12 a month. And, you know, it's a little bit smoother, tons of stuff in here. And then somebody actually spun off like a white label version of this. But Duda is great. But this is, those would be two choices that you can start with. If you have familiarity, WordPress is one that is more complicated, a little bit harder to use, but it's free. There's no charge. There's no monthly charge. Regardless, if you go with WordPress, you're going to have to pay for a host. This is somewhere where you can kind of store your files and have everything. You have to pay, like, it's essentially you're paying for space on a computer that has access to the internet, and that stuff can be kind of published online. So the website builder, a lot of different choices that you can go with. Once you do that, you're going to want to get your Google My Business. So I am in Ohio. So actually I'll go like this. Say Plumber, Dallas, Texas. So just a heads up, this is the Google My Business area. This is the ad area, right? So the Google My Business area is the most important part to rank for local search, which is why the tool that we built pays a lot of attention to this. So we're going to be putting together this training and step-by-step instructions on how to do all the different parts of this process. And we're going to be putting it into the platform. I've got some other people that will be publishing training in there as well. So the idea is that you can kind of go from zero to hero by not only leveraging the tools that are inside of the platform, but the training. And, you know, when I say zero to hero, we're going to start off with the basics, right? But we're running a big agency and we're doing it on 100% on this like lead gen model. So the lead gen model is like building the site, ranking the site, getting the leads to come in, and then automating the process of sending those to a client that pays you a monthly fee. So we're going to share everything that we do, from like ranking the site, building the websites, to like closing and mindset and culture, company hiring, like all this different stuff. So we're kind of building that and putting that together in place for you guys. So I know for some of you guys that have been around, like this is not new information, but I want to share with you guys. I put together within our platform here. So whether you're in Lead Generated or LeadSnap, it's the same in both. If you go to research on the left side and then expand due diligence, and then we have this due diligence builder. So I've put together a kind of a worksheet that you guys can use to evaluate markets to see if this is a good niche. Okay, so a worksheet is essentially just a series of questions. Okay. So what I'd love to do is like, let's have somebody throw in maybe like a city and a niche that they're interested in, and I'll fill this out. So you can see Patric's due diligence sheet. Also, we'll come back to this in a little bit, but if you're interested in this, just type into the chat, send me the worksheet. Let's say type it into the Facebook chat, because that will be easier for us to go back later and make sure that if you put that there, we'll reach out to you and we'll load this into your account. Okay. All right. So the way this works is there's some required fields for the due diligence sheet. Okay. So I'm going to say a new niche, right? So you need a niche and you need a city. So those two are required for everyone, because that's how this works. All right. So Jeff, do we have some niches there? City and a niche.
I see a smart home. So
Smart home.
Yeah, smart home.
Okay,
Dallas.
we'll go with smart home, and then let's have somebody else put a or if we have a city.
Dallas, he says.
Dallas. Okay, so we're going to dive into this. We've got smart home for Dallas. So you can see the first one here is average ticket cost. So the way that I would do this is I would actually call and get some quotes from people. I would just come up with like, let's look at some of the services that they provide. All right, so we'll look up smart home. So I'm just going to start with this. Here's something called smarthome.com. So this will maybe give me an overview of what's included. It looks like there's lighting, temperature, cameras, security, door locks. It can include some other things like plumbing. I know this plumbing one, maybe it's like a sensor if, maybe that's not plumbing, but I saw one where if like there's a leak, then it can actually like the moisture goes up and it will like text you. So we've got kind of a basic understanding of what this is. So now let's just do Smart Home Dallas and let's see if we can look at some of these companies here. Okay, so we've got Mr. Electric in Dallas. We're not actually, I'm still kind of doing my niche research here. I want to see what they're offering, lighting, bathroom and kitchen lighting. So looks like they've got a bunch of different areas, ceiling fan. Okay, all right, so now I'm just going to ask Google. Like I said, I would call for this part of things and I would get some quotes. I would call, look at the services and find out what they're actually offering, right? So what does lighting mean? Does that mean like when I open my garage door, the lights turn on in like the kitchen or something when I'm walking in? I would understand what that is, ask a bunch of questions and just see if you can get like a quote over the phone. And I would call 5 or 6 of these and let's get an average. So we'll just say how much it costs to make my home smart. I don't know the best phrasing for this, but usually, there you go, right? National average cost. This is exactly what I'm looking for. 5,500, average range 2,000 to 7,000, minimum cost 1,500, max 20,000. Okay, so this gives me, here's another one. Let's compare. Maybe it pulled it from here, 5,500. It's got the exact same stuff that probably pulled it directly from that site. Here's Home Advisor. Home Advisor saying a smaller range, which maybe they're doing that because they want to try to suck people into to try to sign up for it, and then it makes it harder for the people to close because they've used. Like I just don't trust Home Advisor. But let's go with what we saw the first time. 5,500. That seemed like that just felt more legit to me. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to put in the average ticket cost, 5,500. That's great. So here's what I'm looking for. I do not want that number to be less than $1,000, right? And it actually, what you want to find is you want to find like a blend of this with the search volume associated with it. Okay, so we're going to look at the population of the city. I'll give you a word of advice. So for cities like Dallas, if I just do Dallas population, I know something about Dallas, right? I know that this is a sprawling city with a bunch of like other major cities that are stacked on top of it. If we open up this map, I know that like, here's Fort Worth and Arlington, and there's like Plano and Frisco and all these other huge cities. So if you're in Vegas, what happens at like if you get outside of Vegas, then there's like desert, right? So there's not a lot. But with a city like Dallas, where it just like sprawls, you want to make sure that you get the area, because usually, okay, let's do, I don't know why that gave me the same number. I know that this area is like 8 million around here. Let's try that. Okay, 7.6 million people. So you need to think about like the type of client that you're going to have. And you know, I love cities like this because basically what you can do is you can build a bunch of different websites and go after this whole area, right? 7.6 million. It may be hard for you to find one company. If you find some guy with a truck, then he's not going to cover the entire area. But this sets you up to find like a big company, or you can do a collection of small companies. That's an easier problem to solve than like, hey, I started in this other area that is, you know, it's kind of like, you got some like Green Bay maybe, or some city that like doesn't have a big population that's kind of like away from other things, then you're going to be capped. There's a downside to this that you should consider. Okay, if you go into an area like this, you're going to often run into more competition. Okay, so I think if this is your first time through this, it may be good to go with like between like 2 and 450,000 people, right? Let's get a win in the books. And then over time, we can start to pick on these bigger markets. So you're going to have some self-awareness to know where you fit in with this. And one of the things that I like to do is I'll go like this. List of US cities by population. You can kind of see it's in my search history from doing this in the past. So there is a wiki article right here, I believe this one, where it's going to list these cities, right? So we can go through, and this isn't going to give you the entire metro area. It's just going to give you like the actual city limits population. So New York City, obviously on top. So I'm going to scroll down here, right? And I'm going to go down to where it's like 200,000. So I'm paying attention to this column right here. So I would come down here and I'll look at this. There's Amarillo, Texas, city number 121. And what you can do, and I mean, this isn't like a hard limit. You could easily go down to 150. What you're doing here with this is you're like decreasing the population and you're decreasing your competition, right? So, like if I went into a gym that had 10 people, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll be the best basketball player out of these 10 people. That's different than going into a stadium that has 100,000 people, right? So the competition is going to be way more when there's more people, right? So it's best to start off with a smaller and then build into that once you have some confidence, right? And okay, so what you can do is you can start at like that Amarillo, Texas, where was that, 121 or something, and then work your way up. Look at this. So go through these cities and these niches. Maybe you picked out a niche like the smart home, and you could work your way up this list and find a city where this is less competitive and then attack that city. So that's the part of the beauty of this business model, is the ability to decide what game you're going to play, right? Let's go pick on the people like, okay, basketball again, right? So if I am I'm tall, I'm 6'2". If I go and I play against people that are my own age, my own height, I'm probably going to win some, lose some. But if I go to a playground with a bunch of second and third graders, then chances of me being able to beat them in basketball is much higher. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to stack the deck in our favor. Okay, so we're going to go with this one though for this example, but I just want to make sure that that's clear. Don't just be rushing off into Dallas with 7.6 million people. And if you do go into the city, my advice is to break this into smaller cities. You can have one for Dallas, you can have one for Arlington, Fort Worth, Plano, Frisco, all the different parts. I think there's like a McKinney or something. Is this a phone-driven business? That's really important for this business model. You want this answer to be yes, because most of the time we're not going to have like a brick and mortar shop where people are coming in. We don't have that as a part of this business model. You do not want that to be the case where someone needs to come in. Okay. All right, license required. I know a lot of you guys have asked this question and you're scared about when there's a license required. I actually prefer it. I prefer that as a license is required. It keeps out the riffraff a little bit. It keeps our clients from getting undercut a lot of times, but this will work in either one. If a license is required, then you will just simply, when you start to work with someone, when the leads start to come in, you just need to ask them for their license number and say, hey, these leads are all going to you. For me to be able to do this and be able to send you these leads, it's required that I have a license number on my site. And what you do is you just put a little thing on the bottom of the website that says, we are a third-party referral service. All leads go to a license contract number, put their business name and their license number there. Okay. All right. So we've got this stuff here. Don't let this scare you that it's whether it's licensed or not. Okay. So competitor one name. Okay, so now we're going to kind of get into this, and what I want to do, one of the first things that I'll do, I'm going to get rid of this. We're going to look at Smart Home Dallas, and I'm going to pull this like this company here. It's important to know that in the Google My Business area, this changes as we move across town. So if I do a search right here where it says like 635, I don't know if you guys can see that. This is going to be different results than if I do over here in Irving. Right? As I move across town, these things are going to get shuffled all over the place. And I just chose Smart Home Dallas. So because the Smart Home starter is first here, that does not mean that they're first anywhere else. Just in this random spot that Google picked for this search, this company is first. So what we need to do is we need to find out who the top people are in town. Okay. So I'm going to start with this company, the Tex Home Theater guys, right? So to do that, I'm going to go to google.com/maps. Okay. And then I'm going to put their name in here. So that text home, these guys right here. So there should be 27 reviews. That's these guys. Okay. So some of the stuff that I look at, and I should have added this into the survey, is I'm going to look at their reviews. I've got that on the survey. So one of the other things I like to look at is their pictures. So I want to know a few things, and I'm not just looking for the number. I want to know if these are like legit pictures, because I believe that this matters. And I think that if you use photo stock, that it is worse. And I think Google knows. I don't think it's like a deal breaker or anything, but I like to pay attention to the small edges. So you can kind of see these look like real photos to me. This doesn't look like photo stock. This looks like someone took these of their real work, and we're going through, and it looks like they have a decent amount. They have a good amount of pictures. Okay. So when we go to build out our GMBs and we build out our sites, we're going to want to beat them in all the different categories that matter. And one of them is pictures. So like if they've got 500 pictures on here, well, I need more than 500 because I want to beat them in every category. It looks like they probably have like 20, no big deal. We can easily beat them. And even if they had a bunch, like it's not like the end all be all, but I do like to beat them and kind of like beat them in every category. And I just think that when you do that, at some point, Google's like, hey, the dominoes are going to fall. Like we don't know exactly what, like how many points it is for this and that, but we know the things that matter. And if we just beat them and all, then like the dominoes are going to fall our way. It's just a matter of time. Okay, cool. So now that we've got this, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a heat map on that. So that's, if you guys have not seen that before, it has a lot of different important features. So when we set up this Google My Business, what we're doing is Google will send a postcard to us. We get a code off that. We put it into Google, and that verifies that we have access to a real location in the city. Okay, so once we do that, there's a unique identifier called a map URL. We need that to submit this. So if we go into research, I'm going to keep this open and I'm going to open this up in a new tab, and I'm just going to plug these guys in here. This is going to show me the rankings of this company across the entire city. All right, so we need a keyword for this. One of the ways that we can do this is we go into Google and we type in smart home. We can look down here at the bottom and kind of see smart home devices, smart home ideas. It's just so generic. Let me see here. I'll do smart home Dallas again. And so now we put a locator on here. I guess I'll just stick with smart home as my keyword. That's pretty broad. It's the thing I don't like about it, but I haven't done the keyword research on this. So I'll say smart home. And actually, I'll do smart home Dallas since that's where we are. All right. So this is going to make more sense in 1 second once we have this grid. Okay. All right. So this right here is the distance between these points. So right now, the way I have it set, it's 1 mile. If I set this here, it's going to be half a mile. So it's going to be a smaller grid. So this will give us a pretty good understanding of this city. This is a big area and a really populated area. So this is probably going to be pretty competitive. So I'm just going to click on start this heat map. All right, while we're doing this, does anyone have any questions about anything we've covered so far? Jeff, are we good? We locked in?
I don't see any questions. I was giving them a second to kind of ask, but I don't see any that have been posted already. So I think we're good.
Okay, cool. All right, so you can see what this is doing. And I know that a lot of you guys know this that are on this call. It's telling us the ranking of how this particular company, how they are ranking at that exact spot on the map for this term. Okay. So it looks to me like this, like you'll start after you use this a little bit, you'll start to notice patterns. And this is a really good start for this company here. They've got all greens. So when it's less than 3, it's going to be green. So they're ranking first or second in all these spots. And, so there is 13 miles or something between here and here. And then there's another like 3 miles so far. So this is probably going to be a pretty green map. Maybe this will be the top company in town. We want to know who this is. And this is a really good starting spot for us to understand how, like, who should we be evaluating? When we go through this, and we kind of look at some of the other questions that I've prepped on here, We can look at the competitor name. We're going to add in their website, how many citations. So that is just like a address listed on another website about this one. We'll look at the backlinks. We'll talk more about that in a minute. How many pages they have, how many reviews they have. If there's a keyword in the GMB name, we will talk about their heat map ranking and heat map average. And you can see I've pulled out 3 competitors. So how do we know what competitors to evaluate? What we do not want to do is we don't want to just grab these 3 because of this random location that Google chose, right? So we need to find out, and that's what this heat map is doing, is it's telling us who the top 3 actually are across this entire city and not just in this one random location. Some of the other things that I recommend that you guys pay attention to is this organic area down here. So even though this is the area that's most important, some leads will still come from this area. I know that we've had GMBs where we've only had 1 GMB for a website and we've lost that GMB, but yet we continue to get leads because they're coming from this organic area. Additionally, this area down here often affects this area. So why does that matter? So if this is affecting it, and so let's imagine that this is number 1 here, this is number 2, and this is number 3. And then down here, it's the same company as number 1, and the same company as number 2, and this third company is number 3. So that's telling me that, like, hey, maybe this is a little bit tougher because it's going 1, 2, 3 here and 1, 2, 3 here. But if we know that the ranking down here impacts the ranking up here, and the people that are down here are not up here, then that tells me that there's a weakness in this market because these people are able to rank up here without ranking down here, right? So I know that's a little bit maybe more complicated to get your arms around, but just pay attention. If it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then it's going to be tougher. If these people are ranking here, but they're not even on the first page, then that oftentimes will be a sign of weakness, right? If you look at what we have here, you can see I've added in review count. So I'm paying attention to that. And I'm also going to pay attention to how many pages they have on their site and a few other things in here. So the idea is after we build this out, we'll really start to have we'll have an idea of how tough these guys are. So just because this company has this does not mean that they are tough, okay? It could mean that everyone else is not good, right? So because they have a solid green map, doesn't mean that they're great. It means they're better than, this is all relative. The ranking is 2 relative to the rest of the market. So if the rest of the market is weak, then maybe they just happen to be in a soft market. So it's like they were able to outrank them, and we could easily outrank them still, right? Okay, cool. So now that this is completed, I'm just going to refresh this page real quick, and it shows up as completed. We've got it loaded.
Here's a question for you, Patrick. While that's reloading, the other Patrick is asking, when you search Smart Home Dallas, Google shows you the 3-pack. What is that based on? Is it based on your IPS when you your IP address when you search? And should you use incognito? How does that work?
So this is where the heat map comes into play. Like I wouldn't do it that way because I have no idea how Google's deciding to choose us within the city. I'm in Ohio and I'm searching in Dallas. How does it decide who it's going to show me? Because I haven't searched with my IP in this area, but when you use the heat map, the way this works is really cool because it's using like proxy to do a search from this spot, and then it's adjusting it and it's moving the longitude and latitude, and then it's doing from this spot and it's scraping the results and it's loading those results into here. So it's doing all the stuff. So each search, you get a completely clean anonymous search that's performed from this location. So this is part of, I know that a lot of you guys have landed deals and this has been really powerful for you guys for prospecting, but this is phenomenal for research and doing your due diligence for this very reason. So if we look down here, it looked to me like this is the company that we did the search on. I thought that they were going to be the #1 company in town. Now I know they're not. They're number 2. Right? Number 1 is this company, the Smart Home Starter, whoever they are. So I can click on this. We can look at this. We see this average of 1.66. So if we were to add all these spots up and divide, so there's 169 spots on this grid because it's a 13 by 13 grid. So this right here tells us that they're appearing in 169 spots out of 169 spots. So they're in the top 20 in every single spot. It's clear for us to see that, right? Otherwise it would be red on one of the spots. So they're appearing in every spot. And if you added up all these points, they would have an average of 1.66, but this other company, Smart Home Starter, would have an average of 1.44. So this is the number one company. So when we go back to our sheet here, you can see competitor one name, right? So that's this company, right? Competitor two is the Tex Home Theater, and competitor three is this Vivint Smart Home. One thing I want to point out to you guys, I'm going to click on this. If I click on this, it's going to open up their actual GMB. So that's really nice. And notice that Smart Home, our keyword is in the name. Okay, so to me, that's a sign of a little bit more difficulty because they've got like I train you guys on putting the keyword in the name, right? And this is actually this is a decent name. It's a little long, but putting branding with it and then getting the name, and they've got home theater, which is probably one of their main search terms. They have two keywords in their name. And then they've got this like encapsulated with the Tex and experts, right? So if you just peeled that off, that's a good way to do it. That's a good way to brand it. This may be a little bit long, as I said, but that's one of the factors that's on here, right? If you look down here, keyword in the GMB name, I have that on there because I believe that is, that's a smart move. And you'll find cities where nobody does that. And I like those because they don't really know what they're doing, because you should do that. So these three guys have done this. You can see actually almost all of these people, look at this. All these people up from here up, they all have smart home in their names, right? And that's part of why they're ranking for this term, which is what we expect. But again, you'll find cities that don't have that. So I would pay attention to that. Okay, all right, so we know, so now if we go back and we look, I'm going to put their names in here. So the first one is the Smart Home Starter. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to put that in there. And then I'm going to get the second one, which is kind of running off the screen. So I'm going to copy it from here. So this is competitor two. So I'm just filling out this sheet as I go through this, right? So competitor two, that's their name. And then competitor three is this Vivint Smart Home. Okay. All right. So competitor three down here. All right. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get there. I'm going to pop each one of these out because we're going to need it. I think I've already got that one out there. So we'll get rid of that one and we'll pop out these guys and this Smart Home Starter. So one of the things that you guys can do, like we said, hey, this is what the number two's heat map looks like. If you want to see the number one, I can just click that. And that's what their heat map looks like. It's hard to tell which one, when you're just looking at this, it's hard to tell which one is like actually better. That's why we have the averaging in here for you. If you look at this, you can kind of see where one is ranking better than the other. So for instance, in the Northwest, which is going to be the top 25% of points, they are a 1.67, they're a 1.33. So we can kind of see in the Southeast, this company, the Smart Home, is a 1.117 or 1.17. Right, so these numbers are really close. There's not much difference between this, but let's just get the order. This is exactly why we set this up for you guys. So there's no doubt to who's ranking above the other person. So the point is you want to do your due diligence on the top people because you need to beat the best people to be able to take over this market. So the first thing is identify them and then gauge how strong they are. If we were to look back on our results, wherever those were, right here, Smart Home Starter, is that that number two company or number one? Yeah, Smart Home Starter. Like this gives me a little bit of confidence because these guys don't even have any reviews, right? Reviews are a ranking factor. They don't have them. They're able to rank this way and kind of dominate the whole city without reviews. So that says something. I'm going to open up their website. I want to really understand how they're doing. One of the things I should probably add to the sheet that I don't have on here is the amount of content. These guys have almost no content. Okay, so if you guys want this, I'll load it into your accounts. But before I do that, I'm going to put the content in here. And here's how I'm going to do it. Here's how I'm going to determine it. I'm going to highlight this stuff, this whole page. I mean, my guess is there's less than like 200 words on this page. So I'm going to go over here and then I'm just going to type into Google word count tool. Okay, so I would take this into account. It's something that I pay attention to with when we're going into it. You can see there's 400 words on this page. I would be targeting like 1,500 to 2,000 words on this page. I've heard some people doing 2,500 words. The homepage is the most important part. It's not all that matters, right? So far we've identified this site that has like no reviews. They're the #1 company and they have not a lot of words. So there's some other reason that's contributing to their ranking. But it's not those two things because those are both weak. Okay, cool. So let's go back over here. We know that the smart home, is that smart home starter? Okay, so I'm going to copy their website address right here, smart home starter. Also pay attention to the fact that they actually have smart home in their domain. That does not hurt in the rankings. That's always a good thing to do. So this is their domain. And one of the things I like to do too, I'll just kind of like knock these guys out real quick. Their review count, they have 0 reviews, right? Let's look at their page count. So how can we do that? This is a trick right here. It's not 100% accurate, as some of you guys probably know, but it will give you a good idea. So if I do what's called a cite command, so I put cite with a semicolon in here and I enter, these are the pages that Google knows about. And this is what we're looking for right here. This is part of why they're ranking. They have 2,350 pages on their site. That's a lot. So if you want to beat them in all the categories, you would need more than that. I don't want to build 2,351 pages when I can go find another city that has, the leader has 6 pages and I can just build like 7 pages. I would build more than that, but just, one of the things that you should pay attention to is let's look at their pages. Some of these people don't understand how themes work or their websites. So they end up with a bunch of pages that have like garbage, right? And these guys don't have, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that these guys probably have a bunch of pages with no content, but they have so many of them that it kind of adds up, right? And maybe they're doing well in other categories too. Google is, there's like no value to this page. Like, what is this, right? There's no value to this, but they have 2,300 pages. That is a ton of pages. So I guess Google has like taken all this, put it into a blender and decided that this has value. Here you go. Okay, some of their pages apparently do have content, right? And they're linking to other things. They've got videos on here. So maybe this is some of the value, like graphs and stuff like this. Oftentimes, I believe that Google, they add more value to that. It's like, someone's like demonstrating real value when they build something out like this, and it's not just like a standard lead gen nonsense. Okay, so they've got 2,350 pages, and even though a lot of them appear to be garbage, I'm still going to go with what I found here because I'm going to be comparing this. There is a free tool that you guys can get that is pretty good. Okay, let me just set this up. So it is Majestic. You don't need a Majestic account. So you just have to pass their authentication here. So I'm going to authenticate for free. I'm not good at this CAPTCHA, so we could be here for about 40 minutes before I can get this thing figured out. So let me do my bridges. I can't tell if that's a bridge off in the distance. This is where, okay. All right. I got it the first time. All right, cool. So I'm going to look at this and I'm going to see what their backlinks look like. So what I'm looking for, actually, so it's going to run on the page that you're on. I'm not on their homepage. I want to run this on the homepage. So I'm going to go back. This is their homepage. This is where most of their links probably will be. You can see that they have 26 referring domains. That is not many. They've got 31 external backlinks. So Majestic, just a heads up for some of you guys that aren't familiar with this. A backlink is essentially a link from another website towards this site. If you think about this as like a vote, then who has the most votes? So that's how it would start out. But it's not, all the votes are not equal. Like if I were to go and ask, maybe I want to go in Best Buy and I'm going to ask someone about like some technical question about a computer, right? So the person in Best Buy, their vote on, it's an educated vote. Like they've got experience with it. They understand the different parts. But if I were to go and ask like, maybe some homeless guy who is most likely doesn't have like all this tech experience. Like maybe his opinion doesn't matter as much as the expert inside of Best Buy. And it's kind of the same thing. So there's great websites. There's websites that suck. If you were to get a link from like Microsoft.com or Google.com, then your website would shoot up in the rankings. So the trust flow is talking about the quality of those links, and the citation flow is talking about the quantity. If you had nothing but good links, then there would be kind of a 1-to-1 ratio between these. You can see that there's not. So this person has links from, like, most of these domains are probably not very strong domains. So that has driven up the quantity, but not the quality. Okay, so Majestic, it's free to install. You just got to do the CAPTCHA. So let's see what we have here. We have backlink count. So I'm just going to go over here and look at what that number is. If I go here, I can see that we have external backlinks of 31. You can add in more of these to the domain. I would pay attention to the backlinks. It matters. But we're just kind of doing a demonstration here. So this is going to be 31. Okay, so I'm going to put in 31. So citation count. How can we find that? So there's different tools out there that will give that to you. Hopefully these guys have a phone number on here somewhere. All right, let's look at their Google My Business real quick. These guys have no phone number. I don't know what is going on with this. Maybe these guys are the old dog in the game. They look really weak to me, other than the fact that they have over 2,000 pages. Let's look at Vivint Smart, because this will be a more normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this person's phone number, and I'm going to put it in quotes like this. And I'm also going to change it to match the format, even though Google, so you can, oops, that's these guys. All right, Vivint Home. So I'm going to use this same format. I'm going to get rid of the 1, and I'm going to use that format. I'm actually going to go and visit their website. I want to see how they have it on their website, what format they used. Okay, is this like a national company or something? It's kind of what it feels like. All right, so I'm going to actually use this phone number, I think, and I'm going to use it with their name. Okay, so just give me 1 second. What we're trying to do is we're trying to see how often this shows up on the internet for their stuff. I'm just going to pull this over to another screen real quick. 1 second. Maybe I'm not. All right, cool. We're going to do it this way. All right, so we've got Vivint. Where did they go? These guys. All right, I'm going to try it both ways. I'm going to try it with both their phone numbers. What I want to do is I want to find what just happened. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. I think I did some kind of weird shortcut for full screen mode. Did I somehow close that? Jeez. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Any questions while we're going through this, Jeff? Are we good?
Yeah, there are a couple. Preet asked if we could touch briefly on turning the reds into greens, especially for longer distance areas. Maybe that'll come closer to the end of what you're doing. Greg shared a Chrome extension for word count. It's called Word Counter. Oh, my screen just changed. It's called Word Counter Plus. So if you look that up, Chrome extension, you probably find it in the Chrome store. And then finally, do you check how they rank in Ahrefs and how much traffic they get?
I do that in my agency, but I know that not everyone will have that to start out with. So I'm trying to do this the cheap way.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I do check that. I also would recommend looking at the backlinks that they have. So you guys, this is probably a national company. I don't know whoever asked that. Maybe you're familiar with this company, but this, you can see that there's 15,800 results for this that have this name with this phone number. And this is a 1-800 number, which is what I thought would be a national company. So maybe in the smart home industry, you've got a lot of national players. That's different than like a local plumber. right? This is the one we're going with. So these are going to be a lot of citations where their name and phone number are showing up. Sometimes you really would like to have the address in here, but if it's a service area business, you might not have access to their address, but you can kind of get the name and phone number to see where they are. You can see that maybe it's not showing up. I don't know if I did, because some of these they're like crossed off. It's missing that. So I don't know why it's doing that. I haven't seen that before, why that's crossed off like that. Usually the quotes like enforce this. I think there's some Google language trick that you can put in here, but I can't remember what it is right now. It's like contains or something. Maybe somebody knows. Maybe it's in you. I can't remember what it is exactly. I'm going to do it again with this phone number here, and I want to look at this and see, because this is really who you're competing against locally. Okay, so we got 469 694 0096. Okay, all right. It looks like it didn't really find, no results found. And it could be the way that I have this. So try a couple variations here. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the number of citations on here. Okay, no results found. So these guys probably don't have a lot of citations locally. That's my opinion. And maybe I'm just not hitting the right variation of how they have this set up. But if we were to, I want to give you guys an example of this working in action. So let's do this. I'll do,
Hey, Patrick,
yeah,
the way you do it is you put quotes around each of those two data elements.
separately.
Yes. And a space in between. Then you'll get your
guys. So just so you guys know, I obviously, I'm not the one doing due diligence in my company anymore. You guys can probably tell. I know that I've trained people, but it's been years since I've had to do this on my own. I've got a team of people that are going out and doing these steps. So some of the stuff gets rusty if you haven't done it for a while. So let's try that. Still no results found, right? So what I remember now, Harry, thank you for that. This is looking for this exact word, and this is looking for this phone number. So when you have them both on here, then both of these have to be found, right? Or you get something that says no results found. So what I'm going to do real quick, I just want an example of this working in action. So I'm going to say Plumber, Dallas, Texas, and I'm just going to grab a plumber real quick because I want something that's more local with this. All right, so we'll see this Tribeca plumbing here, and let's pull this up real quick. Are you guys, is this good for you guys? Are you guys getting value from this? If you are, just throw something in the chat for me and let me know. I know that some of you guys have been doing this process for a while and it's kind of second nature, but I know we've had a lot of new people. So I want to get this out there. So you can see Tribeca Plumbing Inc. So I am going to try it in this window here. We'll go Tribeca Plumbing Inc. And I'm going to put their phone number in here, 214-402-5454 with my other quote. Okay, this is exactly what I was looking for. 132 results right here, and you can see all the different places that they're listed. So these are citations. If I open this up, I can take a look at this Manta site here. God, I hate these CAPTCHA things. Is there any other boats? All right. Boats. Oh, I missed one. Okay, cool. So this is what a citation can look like, right? This is their address on here. It's got their phone number. It's got a link to their website. It's got like a business description, and these can look different. Like they can have more and less of these parts, but the point is they have 132 of these. So when we go, we're going to back to what we're doing here. We're going to want to make sure that we're beating them in this category, right? So with this smart home, guys, it's hard to get a clean citation count on what they actually have because it's like they're a national company. So there's like 15,000 citations or places where their company is listed with their phone number, but then there's like none that have their GMP number. So it's just a little bit hard to gauge that. They do have this in their the keyword was in their name. It was like most of their name, right? If we go back to the heat map, we can see smart home starter, right? And this is their ranking is 1. So they're the first company. They're the top ranking company. Their heat map average is a 1.44. So that's the next box, right? So we will make them a 1, right? And this is a 1.44. Problem here is I chose the type of field I chose for this. I shouldn't have chosen number. Now it doesn't let me do a decimal, but imagine there's a decimal in there. I will get that updated for those of you guys that want us to install this in your account. And then you go through it and you're going to put these for each one of these. So let's imagine, I'm just going to make up some numbers here because now you guys know the process, right? So let's imagine that this was like not a national company and they had 100 citations, or that other company that we just saw, the Tribeca Plumbing, they had 132. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to compare these, right? I'm going to fill out this sheet for each one of these. And at the end of it, when I click on save, it's going to ask me to rank the difficulty of this niche, right? So I'll click save. And based on the information that I have here, how tough is this niche? That's what we're trying to look at here. So based on what I've seen so far, I would rate this about an 8 out of 10. I'm sorry. I'm going to rate this about, I'll put it as a 6 because I think this is a tougher niche to get into. I think you're going to be competing against some national competitors that have big sites, that have a lot of citations. I saw that the smart home, like some of the things that are contributing to their strength is the amount of pages. I think that they've probably got like, citations from all these different places around the country. They don't have a lot of backlinks. So that's like bringing it down. I would say this is a niche that you could certainly beat. It's not like going into like plumbing in Las Vegas or something like that, where there's a few million, or plumbing in Dallas, right? If you're doing that, you're just competing against like thousands of companies and you're going to run into some really, really tough people. However, I would like to see, there's niches that you'll find where they don't even have a website and they don't have any reviews. Like this one didn't have reviews. So maybe we could actually rank this as like a 7 opportunity. So this is like not a great niche. This is an excellent opportunity. That's where I would put it based on what I've seen so far. Obviously, I'd want to dive into these other companies as well. Like maybe let's do this. Let's be complete about this. Let's not, I know we've been on here for a bit, but let's just kind of run through this and I'll give you my honest opinion on this real quick. All right, cool. So we've got Vivint. They had 3 reviews. I'm going to grab their website. This shouldn't take you that long. And honestly, once you have this, what I would do is I would set up, I would have someone on my team doing this like I did, right? So we did Vivint. So the backlink count. So I'm just going to go to their website. I'm going to look at the amount of links that they have. So I'll go here. I'm going to use my little plugin. So look at these guys, 12,000 links. So that doesn't mean they're strong. This is not a number I want to see here, 31. I think you're going to find a lot of companies like that first one we have that was like a 6. This is a 31. The distance between 6 and 7 is less than the distance between 7, 8. So it's like logarithmic the way it grows. So as these get bigger and bigger, like the difficulty goes up. Like to go from like 90 to 91 is a much bigger deal than to go from like 1 to 2, right? Just if that makes sense. So these guys have a ton of links. Not really what I want to, I don't want to see that because I'll find somewhere else where there's like 9 links, right? So that's a dissuader for me, right? So we'll go like that. The page counts. Let's see how many pages they have here. I'm betting they have a bunch of pages. 16,000 pages in here. And again, this could be that same situation that we saw with that smarter home company. I can go out to like page 9 and just like open up and see if this is like a real page with real content. You also want to pay attention, like, is this the same content on all their pages? It looks like it is. So you can devalue these pages quite a bit, but there's 12,000 of them, right? So, or 16,000, I'm sorry, 16,000 of them. Not really what I want to see when I'm going into this. Again, like it's definitely beatable, but it's like, how much do you want to mess around with this when you can go and like beat like 20 other companies by the time you get this to get this thing to rank. Is a keyword in the name? Yes, it was. Their heat map ranking, I think, was a 3 for these guys. I think their average was like a 3.35 or something, 3.25. Okay. 3.35, 3.25. Okay. All right. So you'll notice as you go through this that, like, a lot of times it's, like I said, it's harder when you have these national guys in there to get the real citation, but you can see a story being told of why this company is first, why this company is second, and why this company is third. So let's get these like Tex Home guys. Did I already kill them? All right, Tex Home. So these guys were ranking number 2 in our list. 27 reviews. We'll pull up their websites. Notice that this company does not have a valid website here. So I don't know how long this has been down. They're still kind of like maintaining those GMB rankings. There's kind of some mixed results that are happening in here with this search. And usually when there's mixed results, then I kind of like tend to think that it's a little bit weaker. I bet we can still get nope, it's not giving us the site is down. This could actually, like, hey, I mean, you could actually pitch this company and be like, you know, your website's down, and maybe this is a GMB that maybe this company's not even in business anymore. I don't know. See when their last review came in a year ago. This company might not even be in business. You know, this could be like some situation where you could try to reach out to this company and just be like, hey, can I like pay for your Google My Business and give you guys a few $100s to get access to that, and your website's down. Can I buy that domain? And maybe build a lead gen on that, because these guys already have a good foothold in here. A lot of this other stuff is you're not even going to be able to get it. We can't get the backlinks right now. We can't get the page counts. We saw that the review count, I think they had 27 reviews, right? There was a key name in the keyword. This was, I think, were they 2? Is that what it was? Yeah, Tex Home is 2 with the 1.66. Okay, 2. And I would probably do more research on these guys, like whoever had mentioned about the Ahrefs stuff. I would do that too. I do that as a part of mine. I can kind of show you guys what that looks like real quick. This is a long one. All right, cool. Let me just log into my Ahrefs account real quick, guys. And I'll show you what I would do. Site Explorer.
Hey, Michelle, did you have a quick question about the rating?
Yes. Hey, Jeff, it's Janeri.
I know.
Oh, look at that.
I
What's
didn't
up,
know if you were
Janeri and
trying to go
Joe?
incognito on us or what. Hey, Joe, what's going on?
No. Hey, how are
Okay.
you?
Go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so my question was when Pat, when you were rating at the end, you know, when you submit it, it asks you, so how do you score this Leadgen, right? And I think we talked about this before, but you know, off the top of your head, you could kind of figure it out. But do you have maybe like a point system or something that you would weight different factors to be like, okay, like after you add all your data, pretty much it has this many reviews, or this is a backlink, and I can say, okay, I'm gonna score this as 5 or whatever.
Yeah, that's the part about this that's the weakness in our current system is its feel. You know, you use this stuff, but what we're building with our due diligence tool is we're going to build this so it pulls information in automatically from like Majestic and Ahrefs for you, and then it kind of runs like a calculation for you guys and gives, based on what you filled out, if you use the sheet that we build, then we can tell you whether we think this is like a good niche to go into or not, right? But right now, you're just going to have to do it off a feel, and that stuff right there will really put you in the right direction, right? It will. This is the most important things with a few things that are missing because they were like, not everyone has access to them, right? Ahrefs, I think I'm paying $200 a month for it. I know that's expensive for a lot of people. So that was kind of the sacrifice that I made. I should build a second one of these that has everything that we look at. And then depending on where you are, maybe you can look at one or more. You can get a really good idea with this information right here. Like this would be enough for me to decide whether I'm going into a niche or not with this information, because this, honestly, this would not be a niche that I go into just looking at this information, because this is like I'm 6'2", this is like playing against someone else that's 6'2" in basketball. Well, let me go find someone that's 3 feet tall and let me play against them and let's see who wins, right? So like this is, there's just weaker ones out there. And I know that because I've done that a bunch of times. You start to get a feel for this, right? Some of this stuff matters more than other things. I think that reviews matter a lot because the GMB is where most of the, that's where most of the leads will come from. And the reviews are a ranking factor for that. So when someone has 27 reviews, like I'm not as excited when I like this. I like it when there's 0, because you'll be able to find niches where all 3 of the people have like, 10 citations, 3 backlinks, 6 pages, no reviews. Like those are the ones I want to go after, where that maybe their heat map average is like a 1, but they've got all this other stuff being true. They're just like dominating a market that is terrible. Like it's terrible as far as like the strength of the competitors, right? They're really weak. So this is plenty for you to make a decision, but I do like to look at this other stuff. I'm paying for these tools and I'm going to take advantage of it. Let's look. This is what I was thinking was going to be the case. This is that Smarter Home. They're a national company. These are numbers I don't want to mess with at all. Like this is legit stuff right here. Most of my sites that are crushing it in their local market have a smaller number here. So this is the domain rating, which is like the strength. This is kind of determined by how many links are coming from legitimate sites. So that backlinks is a really important part for ranking a site. And the site influences the Google My Business, right? So this is a big number. I like to see it when it's less than 10. When it's 43, that's a big number. This is a big number over here. So this is a little bit hard to explain, but I'm gonna explain it. I'm gonna take a crack at it, and hopefully we can make sense. Okay, so let's say I do a search for like dentist, Dallas, Texas. Okay, so this area right here is the Google Ads area. Okay, and this is an auction. So basically, the more valuable the lead is, the more people will be willing to pay for that lead. That's kind of like a rule of thumb. All right. So, okay, so let's go back here. So this Ahrefs number here of 132,000, this is basically saying these people are getting, based on all the organic keywords that they're ranking for, if you were to pay for those, there's like 276,000 organic keywords that this company is ranking for. And if you wanted to get the same amount of traffic that these people are getting, it would cost you $132,000 a month in Google Ads. So that's basically what that number is. So it's trying to assess the value of the organic ranking, because not all the keywords, if I wanted to rank for like, Patric Shannon is awesome, like there's no one bidding on that. So that has no value. But if I want to rank for like dentist near me or dentist Dallas, Texas, a lot of people will be bidding on that. So that will be worth a lot of money and that will contribute to this. So it's like using that to gauge the value of their organic ranking. Okay, so when you see this, these people are getting a ton of value. That is a huge number. So this is somebody I don't want to have to compete with when I can go and find somebody who is terrible. Like if we look at this company, which I have no clue, we'll put this Tribeca plumbing company in here.
Real quick,
Just a local plumbing company.
real quick, as you're moving to that next company, Patrick, I can see that this domain really only started getting power within the last couple of years, and really in the last year. Like, how would you think through that? Or would that, I mean, I know these numbers are super huge, so it may not even matter, but I think that time is a factor. If I've seen something in maybe a less competitive niche that has gained that much traction that quickly, it tells me that there might be an opportunity for me to come in and do the same, even better.
You can see that over the last few years, they've got a lot of backlinks. So that's what we're looking at. Those are the referring domains, right? These are the pages. This is the domain rating. So everything started to move up for them. I don't know what their history is. It looks like I'm still somehow, I'm like caught in between because we saw that they had 132,000. There we go. Okay. So I don't necessarily think that that's a sign of weakness. Maybe they were on like, maybe this company was on like a HGTV show or something like that. We can probably go in here and look at their links. This is another thing I look at when I'm really like geeking out on this, is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look at this. So when you're trying to get links to your site, what you want is you want niche relevant links. So I don't want links from like a dog and pony show or some weird thing like that pointing to this, because that's unrelated to smart homes, right? If I have links from like politics or something like that that's not related, then it's like that's not really going to help us so much. But you can see that this is a smart TV and web browser thing. So that is kind of in their niche. This is Ring Doorbell, right? So these are the domains that are linking to their site. And you can kind of see that that looks like a strong domain. I like to look at the strength of the domains, and I like to see how hard is it going to be for me to get links that are equal or better to these people's links. So these look like some of these are going to be hard to get, right? This is not some random blog site, I don't think. Let's open it up. We can look at it and see. Well, maybe it's this guy's random blog site, but I don't know that you're going to have the opportunity to get a link on this site. This might be some of these sites. They're going to build out entire sites and make it look like it's not their site to drive traffic to it. I don't know that that's the case. Let's go back to their actual domain. Let's see if this looks like, this doesn't look like a super legit, like this isn't like, you know, some mainstream thing, but still, it is a site that's dedicated to their exact niche. And when you go to get your links, you're going to want to get niche relevant links. So if you look on here and it's a bunch of blog sites, then you know that's like easier to get links that are better than ones that are like this, that are all niche relevant so far, right? Home theater ideas. Looks like every site on here is like niche relevant so far. I haven't seen one. And pay attention to the actual root domain. Like sometimes you'll be looking through this and you'll see a domain that you recognize. Like if I saw one from like hgtv.com, that's like, I'm not going to get a link from there probably. That's going to be really hard for me to get a link from there. Maybe I can wiggle my way in there somehow, but that's who you're competing against, right? So let's contrast this with this Tribeca plumbing site, right? This is what a national competitor is going to look like sometimes, right? So this is from a roofing company, right? Which for plumbing, I mean, they're both in like that home space. It's another roofing company. It's really weird that they have all these roofing companies on here. Home Blue. This is a locally relevant one, which is good. Like when you go to get these links, there's two different types of relevance you really want to focus on. One, you want the niche relevance, and another is the local relevance. So this is actually a plumbing company here, or maybe it's not. This looks like kind of a trashy domain to me, just by looking at this. Yep. So this is, when you see this type of link, this is much easier to beat than if it were from like an HGTV or something like that. So these are the types of links that I would like to see if I'm going to go into this market and compete against these, because I'll get better links than these people have, right? There's Yellow Pages. Okay, so this looks much, much easier to me. Let's go back and looking at their backlinks. Let's look and see how tough they are. So that other one was a 43. This is a 13. It's because of those links are weaker that are driving this up. And you can kind of see these numbers are going to be much lower too. Can guarantee it. 1900, that's not too bad for a local company. For ours, just to give you like a baseline, I mean, we have some that are like $13,000 for local sites. So like these guys aren't like, that's not a scary number for me. But it just kind of give you a baseline. The UR is also something you want to pay attention to. It's very similar. I'm not going to get into all the details. You can read the description about this and look up UR, but I would pay attention to both of these numbers. A lot of times I would maybe even consider the UR to be more important. I'm paying attention to their links. If they have like .gov or .edu links, those are going to be harder to get as well. So I will go and I'll look at their keywords, and I want to see how their keywords are actually ranking as well. Like what keywords are they ranking for? Are those ones that I'm going to want, right? Or are they ranking for a bunch of stuff that like maybe adds value to that traffic number, but it doesn't really matter. Gas line to house, probably not. Like, I don't really care about some of this stuff here. I don't think people are going to Google this with buyer intent, right? So there's 400 searches a month, but I mean, that's just like such a vague term. There's no buyer intent, right? A lot of gas line installation. That one has a little bit more buyer intent. This is a do-it-yourselfer thing, which like, I don't really care. Commercial plumbing Dallas, that has buyer intent, right? That is a commercial company looking, somebody's looking for a plumbing company to come help them, right? So these are the terms that you really want to rank for, although this, it only has 80 searches a month. Okay, so what do we got here? 500. That's another do-it-yourself. Okay, so those are some of the things that I like to look at when I'm going through Ahrefs to do my due diligence. But like as Janeri, this is going to give you plenty to make that decision. So based on what I'm seeing here, I'm going to stick with my original one, and I'm going to make this a 6. This is not a niche that I would be targeting on my own. And you could pull this off. You could absolutely beat these guys, and you could set up satellite sites all over the Dallas area to target this and kind of break this in to make it not be as competitive. That would be my strategy if I was going into this, but that's what I would assign that as a 6. And I'd be looking for the 10s. That's what I would be going with, is like, what's a 10? What's going to be the easiest niches to go into? All right, guys. So I'll do a couple minutes of questions. I know this has been a longer call, but I also don't want to leave you guys without answering your questions after we've done this. So does anybody have any questions?
Spencer's asking what's the average time to index sites, for sites to index?
I mean, I don't know what the average is, but I would think, we've had him show up within like 24 hours. And I would say if it's going on for like a week and it has an index, then I would start to wonder if I'm doing something weird and wrong.
Mm-hmm. Another question from Patric. He's asking if we have access to free Ahrefs through LeadSnap.
Right now, no, but that's exactly what we're going to be building into the due diligence tool is to automatically pull that stuff for you guys. And Majestic, excuse me, choking over here. Majestic as well, and some other tools. We're going to have citations be pulling in here and that type of thing, but currently there's no free access through that. I know there's a lot of group buys out there. I think the one we did was like private SEO tools. You guys shouldn't be paying more than like 20, 25 bucks, and you can get a bunch of these tools from a group buy. So, if anyone has a group buy that they like, if anyone has a group buy that they like, then they can throw it into the chat, maybe help some people out. I see Harry says, I totally disagree with your assessment. I would go into this niche thinking I'm going to get a GMB there would be as easy as hell for smart home. Sorry to be so disagreeable. No worries, man. I think landing the GMB is not going to be the problem. I think that when you're ranking against somebody that has like 16,000 pages in 2,300 pages, I think that's where you run into it. And like, it's not that I don't think I could beat it. I just think I could beat other people faster. Like the time that it takes me to beat that site, maybe I could rank 5 other sites in the same time, and that's how I look at it. It's just like, I'm looking for the super low hanging fruit, especially when you're getting started. There are sites out there that are going to pay you money that you can rank in just a few months once you know what you're doing. And I always go back to this like poker analogy. Like when I was playing, a lot of times there would be other pros at the table. And I know that just like from my gut and my experience that I can beat these pros, but I look over at another table and there's no one I've ever seen before. I like that game better, right? It's just like, let's go, like you have X amount of hours in your day. What are we going to are you going to use it as effective as possible? Right? Because I could go and I could build a carpet cleaning site and I could rank it and I could beat out these other people. And then at the end of the day, I've got a bunch of carpet cleaning leads that are worth like $15, $20 to a carpet cleaning company. Or maybe I build like a pool building site and the lead is worth $400 to a pool building company, right? And there's less competitors, right? So yes, I could get, maybe it would be hard to get a carpet cleaning GMB. Maybe that's a bad example, but
well, here's what I saw. I went in and did. Now I came in late, so I'm not sure how you started this off. And shoot holes in this. I'm not attached to this being right about this. But what I did is I went into Valentine.app and I searched for smart home in Dallas. And I got a different set of results than you got, number one. So the first guy in the list is Smart Home Starter, whom I think you saw. He has a website and no reviews. The next one is Smart Home H2O, which is a water purification company. The third one is the Tex company, and they're in there and they have 27 reviews. But here's what I see. The top two in the GMBs, and stay with me on this GMB part. The top two are easy to knock off. The first guy's got no reviews. He's weak in the GMBs. The Smart Home H2 guy is the wrong goddamn product. We're looking for Smart Home, but it happens that he has Smart Home in his name. Mm-hmm. But what you and I are looking for inside Dallas, if we're on the street in Dallas, is we're looking for somebody to give us smart home electronics. So I'm betting we can knock one or two of the three GMB players right out of the ballpark. Now, if I'm right, if you could knock one of them out, if you could replace one of those two, now you're in the GMB. You got your organic site. It's brand new. It isn't ranking very well, but the GMB is going to bring you leads if you can get into the GMBs, given the video verification process and all that crap. But if you can get into the GMB, you're going to get leads. And that will, because of the relationship between the GMB site or the GMB listing and the organic site, that will pull your organic site up as well. And the fact that you're going to have more people clicking on you will have more traffic coming into you, and that will raise your organic site.
I agree with, I agree with the second half of things. The first half, I think, is where you missed the beginning of the call. So we use the heat map to determine who the top three people are that with the best average across town, right? So I know that's, that Smart Home H2O, they've got a different product. I think that, like I said, I think that this is beatable, but I think that one of the factors that, like, I believe there is a strong correlation to the organic ranking of the site and the ranking of the GMB. And these guys have strong ranking of their sites. There's some national players in here. They've got a lot of citations. So you have to read between the lines sometimes. If you just look at this and say,
but you know how to beat Smart Home Starter. And I do. Okay. And it's not that hard.
Well, I just think there's easier. I think there's easier games.
I got it.
Yeah. So I'm looking for one that is a 10. I rated this one as a 6. Yes, I could beat these people, but I think that
but Patric,
might take me.
Vivint doesn't even come up.
What's that?
When people are searching for what they're searching for, plumbers, tree care guys, smart home or whatever, most people, more than 50%, are doing it from their phone, number one. So what does that tell you? They're doing it from where they are in Dallas, right? That's what we know. The primary factor is proximity to the searcher. And the second thing is are we giving the searcher what he's really looking for? And those are the parts that make these two listings, Smart Home Starter and Smart Home H2O. Vivint is not in the list. If you're searching from your phone in downtown Dallas, Vivint doesn't show up because it's a national company, just like you pointed out.
Well, they have a GMB, they have a local GMB. And like, if you look at Vivint, this is going to be their rankings at these different spots, right? Whether you're on the phone or whether you're on the desktop, this is how it's going to show up. So, I don't know if they're showing up as 4 as the spot that you did, but this to me is one of the big value parts of the heat map, is to understand how they rank across the entire area, and then find out who ranks the best across that entire area for the top 3 spots, which are these 3 people. So this is the best on average. It's not going to be the one spot that's on your Valentine search, but this is going to be who has the best average. So what we did at the beginning of the call is we determined this first, And then we did our due diligence on the top people, because that's who we need to beat, right? Not just that one spot. But
Yeah.
I agree, these guys are beatable, and there's weaknesses and flaws with the way they've set things up.
Yeah.
But and I also love to see national competitors that are showing up locally. Google wants to favor local people, and a lot of times if they can't find a strong local person, then the national person shows. But at the same time, like, I just don't think it's the best niche to go into personally. I think that you're going to find a lot softer ones based off of what I've seen of diving into it. And look, this is my opinion. Everyone's got different methodologies and strategies. This is what's worked really well for us in determining the niches that we're going to go into, right? I don't claim to be like the end all be all on this, but I feel very confident in the methodology that has built our agency. And we've just beat like markets, like every market we go into, we eventually win. And I've noticed the ones that we go into that feel like this take longer. I've seen it, you know, so that's my opinion. All right, well.
Well, there you have it.
Okay, cool. So
I know my opinion's better than yours. I don't have to argue.
I'll let it be. I'll let it be. But that's the due diligence process that we've used in our agency. There's a lot of different ways to do this. There's a lot of different things. I think it's important that you guys spend time before you go in and choose the niche that you're going into in the city. But you don't want to geek out crazy amounts. Don't spend a week, spend a few hours going through this. Choose this can save you months on the back end, right? Mm-hmm. This is the mistake that I think most people make when they first started. They don't do this due diligence. They pick a tough niche and then they get themselves discouraged, and maybe they start to doubt the business model. So if you just spend the time and get really good at this, and what we're building to make this process automated and give you kind of like an opinion, I hope to make that process easier for you guys, right? So with that, do we have any other questions before?
We have one last question.
Sure.
The other Patric, or one of the other Patrics, is asking, do you create one site for multiple GMBs? I can tag him in videos where we've gone over that, or if you want to give him a skinny on the way out, that's cool too, whatever.
Yeah, so historically what we've done is we've created like one site with multiple GMBs, and we'll create multiple sites. So we'll end up with like multiple sites with multiple GMBs. If I was going into Dallas for the smart home thing, then I would probably be building a website for every one of those cities that has like maybe more than 70,000 or 100,000 people. We could, like 70,000 has always kind of been our number, but I would probably like move it to 100,000 for Dallas because there's so many of those like cities. And then I would probably set up a multiple GMBs for each one of those. We did this in Phoenix. We went into like a really competitive niche. It was a referral. The guy had money to spend, and we set the expectations, but we ended up setting up like, I think 5 sites. We set up one in Chandler, Mesa, Tempe, Scottsdale, Phoenix, all those different, and then each one of them has GMBs in the other locations. So we're like competing against ourselves. And there's been a lot of talk lately as to setting up like just like one GMB, one site. I haven't really had problems with setting up multiple ones in we haven't had a bunch of suspensions come in. We haven't had a hard time getting them to go live. So I'm sticking with that strategy. I think, like Harry said, proximity is a huge factor. So by having more locations, you can be closer to more people that are searching, right? So I love that strategy. There's no reason why you can't have more locations, right? So like, if you think about this, Domino's or something like that, they have all their different locations set up all over the country. It makes more sense for Domino's to have all these locations than it would be for like a smart home place. Like, why do they need like a different location in each little city? But so far it seems like it's working. I think that it could be subject to change at some point, but this has been the way it's been for years and it's worked really well. And I'm not going to fix it while it's still like thriving. So that's my personal, how many GMBs per site? Max. So it depends like how tough is the city? How many other like websites are you building? How big, what's the population of the city? If you kind of think about this in terms of like a radio signal, right? This is a really good part to include in your pitch, because you don't want to geek out in the weeds with your clients, but you can tell them the importance of the Google My Business. You can tell them that like being closer to it ranks better, and you can use an antenna as an analogy. I love analogies. You want to keep things simple for people. Don't get in the weeds on backlinks and stuff like that for your clients while you're trying to like close them. So here's what you do is like a radio signal. Wherever I put an antenna, it's going to be, my signal is going to be the strongest. Okay. So if I set up more antennas, then I'm going to have more strong signals. And if you are, if I set up a antenna here, and then on another side of a mountain, this signal is going to be weak. There's interference. And when you have a populated city, there's more interference. There's more competitors, right? So that's kind of how you can think about this. So how many do you need? It depends on a lot of different factors. I don't really like the idea of anyone else having a piece of the map pack in cities that I'm in. The more GMBs I set up, the more people I can knock out of the map pack. I don't really feel like my job's done until we're like 1, 2, and 3 for all the keywords, the major keywords. And you need more to do that. And having more also gives you the advantage of being able to choose different keywords for the term. So if I choose like smart home for one of them, and I choose like home theater for another one, and then I choose like custom like automated lighting, I don't know what the keywords are, but if you kind of choose those, and I would make sure I would have some branding consistency, right? So you could say like Patric's home lighting, Patric's automated home lighting, and Patric's like home theater, and like have that branding that's kind of like consistent, but get the keyword in there too. So that way you're kind of blending, making it look legit with like getting a keyword in there that you can rank for, right? So those are some of the strategies that I would, a different address for each GMB, absolutely. If you think about the antenna, like if we go back to the antenna, like what happens if I put 5 antennas in one spot, right? Like how my signal is going to be equally bad the other side of town. But if I put one here, let me just draw this out for you guys real quick. All right, so I'll share my screen in 1 second again. Okay.
Hey, and just I wanted to mention, I have some people asking me to tag them and all of that in these videos. So I want to remind everyone, especially if you're new, to make you aware of the fact that we've been outlining these calls since we started them for almost a year now. And I have that in the announcements of the group. And so you can go straight to the document, and right under the table of contents are tagged the most relevant videos for GMB strategies, the antenna strategies, and prospecting and sales are all linked up there for you with timestamps and everything. So Ariel was asking in the Facebook chat, I'm going to go ahead and just drop the link to that outline so you have reference. I recommend that you save this in a place where you can come back to it, and it will, I mean, just searching through that outline for keywords. And then, like I said, the GMB and sales and prospecting are, because those are the most asked for topics, are already linked up there at the top of the document for you. So I would appreciate if you guys all take that and use it, and lots of your questions can be answered through that document.
Yeah, it's definitely a valuable resource. You guys can find that. It's like in the featured or announcement section within the Facebook group. Okay, so I'm going to answer this question, and then we're going to hop off because we've been on here for a while. But the antenna strategy. So if I set up a location here, this little red circle, I'm going to rank better in that little red circle than this circle, right? So I'm going to rank better within the smaller, because my location is in the middle of the circle, and it's going to get, my ranking is going to get a little bit worse as I go out here. And it's going to get a little bit worse as I go here, or maybe a lot worse at this point. Okay, so the question was, should we set them all up at one address? So if we know that we're going to rank best inside of this little circle, and if I were to have 5 copies of the circle on top of each other, then that's not going to really do me any good up here. But if I were to set up 5 locations, and I set up one here, and I set up another one here, and I set up another one over here, and then down here. So as we get more reviews, as we do more citations and the things that help ask questions on our Google My Business, we get backlinks, the circle gets bigger, right? And when this circle gets bigger here too, because we're doing the same things, we're getting more reviews on that location. And we're getting more reviews on this location. So these circles keep getting bigger, and you kind of see what's happening is we're starting to take over the city. Now, no matter where in town in Dallas you have this, one of our GMBs is showing up, and that's the benefit of spreading these things out. And you should pay attention to the demographics of the area that you're putting your GMBs in. Like if I'm selling smart home automation, and I don't know this to be true, but let's pretend that Mesquite is this like ghetto area where no one has any money. I'm probably not going to get a lot of smart home automation leads in that area. So I don't want to necessarily have a GMB there, but I know that Arlington over here has a lot of money with new homes, and people really like the automation. Maybe it's people that are buying the homes and their age demographic, right? That would be another thing to pay attention to when I'm getting this. If this area has an average age of 75 years old, they're probably not that interested in home automation. If they have an average age of like 40 and the median income is like 100,000, this is probably a great spot to have a GMB. So let's put this here for a second and we'll say, so what about these areas? You see these like areas where they intersect. So these are the areas where you're taking up more spots in the map, right? So in this little circle right here, theoretically, I would have all 3 spots of the map if this circle represented me, like where I rank in the map area, right? So by spreading these out, you can dominate the entire area. And if you get enough of these small ones, you'll get results from the beginning. And then as you add to it, you can just grow the circle over time. So we have cities that look like this. If you were to sketch this thing out, we've got lots of cities where it's impossible to find anyone else. And this is why we get paid a lot of money. You know, there's areas there where we're getting 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got $13,000 a month client because of this strategy right here. We're just like, we do not let anyone else show up. We have a stranglehold on the map in the first page, right? So what happens sometimes is our client will get a call from the same person like 4 times because we've got these different sites, and we just kind of let them figure out the best strategy to deal with that. There's a lot of different things they can do. Some of them will say, hey, you know, you've called us on these other lines. Some people, and I'm not advocating this, or I'm not saying like yay or nay on this, but some people will have different letterhead with different crews and DBAs, and they'll send it out and hey, we want 3 quotes. They'll do all 3 quotes, right? So that's a good problem for a business owner to try to solve. But this is a really powerful strategy for taking over. And the GMB is kind of the cornerstone of that. All right, guys, I think we'll call it a wrap. If you guys have any other questions, just throw them in the group. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this was a longer call, and I know we've had people that are looking for like due diligence type strategies. And I figured we'd take this back to the roots a little bit for the new people joining the call. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would love to hear if you guys can throw in the Facebook. For those of you that got big takeaways, I'd love to hear what your biggest takeaways are on this. We're always trying to shape the content to give you guys as much value as possible. So this feedback helps us. So throw in some of your biggest takeaways. We appreciate you guys. All those guys that had the big wins at the beginning of the call, congrats. You guys keep killing it. And we will see you in the group, or we'll see you on the call next week. You guys have an awesome week. Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.